reserve.
Richard, any suggestions what I should wear to Eric Musselman's house tonight for the NBA draft?
Gym shorts and a T-shirt, big guy.
Easy. I like that. Great response. See, we're on to...
What do you think he wears all the time?
Exactly. Listen, what do you always say? You want to dress to the level of who you're working for, what you'll be working at. So you don't want to overdress because muscle looky weird. Yeah. You want to be the same level.
I don't think he's going to look at you weird because of what you're dressed, how you're dressed. That won't be the reason he looks at you and has a weird expression.
I don't think he'll have a weird expression. I don't think he'll be okay. Rodney Brewer gets named the recruiting coordinator last week. We get a chance to talk with him yesterday. This is a guy that I loved watching in college, and now he's back into the fold of Arkansas basketball. He talked about building the team, super important to him. One of the things I asked him was like, hey, your dad got to a Final Four. Your teams weren't necessarily as successful here on campus, but you have an opportunity here to build a team that gets to a Final Four, maybe even a national championship. How important is Ronnie's track record going to be in that position at the University of Arkansas?
Just kind of what I think I've said before is, it just builds upon the NBA experience that the staff has, and he's a guy that's not too far removed from playing in the NBA, and he's a younger guy that is coached, on the spring and summer basketball level recently, and I think he's going to be one of these guys that kids relate to very well. A lot of times I talk to kids, and when they're talking to a younger coach, they seem to just have a connection with them because that coach knows where they're coming from, kind of listens to the same music. There's so many things that they have in common, and it kind of builds a little bit of a instant bond. And then when you add the instant bond in there, along with a guy that has NBA experience, recent NBA experience, I think that's even better.
Obviously, the news of the week has been conference expansion, the likelihood, what seems to be inevitable now of Texas and OU joining the Southeastern Conference. I know you've spoken with some recruits. You wrote about this earlier. I want you to tell our audience kind of what the reaction has been from recruits that some feel like that's where Arkansas could take the biggest hit in recruiting. Give our audience an idea that maybe have not read your piece, what the gauge is on recruits' response to the potential of OU and Texas becoming members of the... Yeah, we're here. Becoming members of the SEC. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Well, we can hear Richard fine. I don't know why Richard couldn't hear us fine. I don't know. Pick that phone up over there. But I know he wrote about that, and it didn't seem as all that the recruits must be something with Richard's phone on his end. But recruits didn't seem to be backing up a bit or fearful at all about OU and Texas joining the league. So I wanted Richard to kind of relay what he had heard from recruits, because I think that's one of the fears, Ty, we have been hearing from our listeners. One of the things you hear in responses is that they're worried about our recruiting taking a dip, and that players may not want to come here. And let's put RD back in. I think we got him back. Richard, I was asking you about recruits. Did you hear my question before we?
Yeah, I did. I did right after that, and then I thought maybe you hit the kill button and you didn't want to hear me.
No, I was hearing you loud and clear. You weren't hearing us. So what were they telling you? What were these players telling you as you were gauging that response?
Well, I think, actually it was Dudley that did this, but just looking over at and kind of gauging, some of the feedback that I've gotten. Most of it's very positive. It just you're adding two schools. One school is obviously a rivalry type school, and the other will become a rivalry type pretty instantly, in my opinion, at least for Arkansas. And then the competition that they'll be able to go against, going to Arkansas, with the SEC, and then the addition of these two teams, I think it's a plus. And then for the most part, it just creates more excitement for the league. So I don't think it's I see it nothing but a positive, honestly.
Yeah, I saw where Clay had talked to Barry Switzer, and he thought the opening of the recruiting doors in the state of Oklahoma and the inevitable drop-off of Oklahoma State's recruiting in that state, and they're recruiting about, between 25 and 30 nationally, which would get you outside the top 9 or 10 in this league, but it's top 3 or 4 in the Big 12. That just gives you an idea of the difference. But maybe Arkansas could get some of those kids that Oklahoma State has been getting, would come to Arkansas instead of Oklahoma State because their situation is changing so much. Do you agree with what Coach Switzer's saying there?
Oh, absolutely. If the Big 12 sticks together, and I've been going back and forth on this. Does the Big 12 stick together, or do the schools scatter, among themselves to different conferences? Right now, I don't know if there's too many of the other schools left over that are attractive enough to be picked up by other conferences. So I think long term they're going to have to stick together. And it's going to be obviously a much weaker conference, less attractive for kids to play in. Let's face it, the Big 12, even with Oklahoma and Texas, was the 5th best conference of the Power 5, and kids saw that too, and they believed it too. And you had to recruit to the 5th best Power 5. Now you're really recruiting to a conference that is much weaker than what it was at its peak. And so I think kids are going to be looking. Mm-hmm. Those schools aren't going to totally die off, but they're going to have a harder time recruiting.
Yeah, what I see instantly is 2 of the best 4 quarterback schools in the country, OU and Alabama, now in the same league, because they have been getting some of the best quarterbacks, and you just look at the results and the Heisman trophies. Clemson and Ohio State would be the other 2. Now you got 2 of those best quarterback schools in recent years playing in the same conference.
Yeah. The SEC, has been the strongest conference for years. We know that. Now with the addition of OU and Texas, it just gets stronger. And it is truly a super conference now, and it was even before then, but it comes even more so and more of an attraction to recruits.
Richard, I want your opinion on Quinn Ewers, who's the number 1 recruiting quarterback in the 2022 class. He's currently committed to the Ohio State Buckeyes and is thinking about sitting out his senior year of high school because of the money that he can make coming up at Ohio State. Are we going to see more of this with name, image, and likeness come into effect in college sports where guys sit out their senior year of high school?
Man, you got me. I mean, we're getting into a different, different era of college football that even this I didn't see coming. I could see maybe kids getting some deals, but nothing to the extent that what they're projecting him being able to do. And the guy hasn't even played a down of college football. So I don't know. I guess maybe some of these guys that they're looked upon as super recruits can start. Maybe you can start seeing a trend, especially if he starts it and he's very successful at it. Yeah, there'll be some other kids that follow suit. So, yeah, man, it's hard to imagine a young man will give up his last year with his teammates and his classmates of high school that you'll never be able to get back. But at the same time, if you can make 7 figures or even the high 6 figures, I guess, yeah, I could see this happening.
Richard, appreciate your time as always. You always give insightful stuff on a Recruiting Thursday, and we'll do it next week, okay?
All right, buddy. We'll see you.
All right, that's Richard Davenport, as always, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and Whole Hog Sports.